a steamy September 1st night in Chicago. Very, very warm temperatures, high humidity. Expect the ball to be traveling out of here tonight. And welcome to Wrigley Field, Game 2 of this 3-game series. Reds came away winners in a big-time fashion here last night. Hi again, everybody, alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day on top. Brenneman, welcome to Reds Baseball. And, you know, generally, you look up and down the order and you break it down to maybe the first third, the middle third, the latter third. Last night, Chris, you brought it up at the time. You draw a line straight up the middle on defense.
Well, every team wants to be strong up the middle. There's no doubt about that. It starts at catcher, second base, shortstop, center field. Oh, by the way, what did those guys do for the Reds last night? They carried the ball club 8 for 21, an average of 381 last night. A couple of home runs, 8 runs batted in. Every time you turn around, one of those guys seemed to be coming around and scoring a run in that big 13-6 win last night for the Reds. It was exciting, and they hope that they can build on that. They've got a tough one coming up, but DeSclafani has really been pitching well against the Cubs.
Let's take a look at his 3 starts so far this year against them.
Well, I mean, at Wrigley Field, he's been nearly untouchable, but overall against the Cubs, he's got an earned run average of under 1, a 198 batting average against, and in 3 starts, this guy's all of a sudden has become the big nemesis for the Cubs on this Reds rotation.
Well, his last 2 starts have been great, but unfortunately losses against Zach Greinke. We'll see if he can get a win here tonight. Well, for the Reds offense, I mean, you talk about the ultimate feast or famine. That has been their story. Jim Day is standing by and has some thoughts on that to share with you. You're watching Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. This 3-game series, day game tomorrow. So let's take a look at Brian Price's starting lineup tonight, brought to you by Meyer. Jason Bourgeois in center field. Jay Bruce in right, Joey Votto at first. Brandon Phillips at second, Todd Frazier, then Ivan De Jesus Jr. A ladder third of Eugenio Suarez. Tucker Barnard coming off a real nice game last night, and Anthony DeSclafani on the mound. We have already seen Dan Herron this year, not in a Cub uniform, Chris, but in a Miami Marlins uniform.
Actually seen him a couple of times. He's 1-1. Has pitched pretty well against the Reds, really, including once down there in Miami. He is on his 8th major league team. He's 34 years old. Right now, what the Cubs want out of him is about 6 innings of 2-3-run baseball, and then they turn it over to the bullpen. And that's pretty much what Herron can give now. At his age, he's a very wily veteran. He throws a lot of breaking balls. You'll see right-handed hitters, if they get too anxious, they'll chase stuff down and away. Not an overpowering fastball like he used to have, but he knows what he's doing.
Strike one, Dan Herron to Jason Bourgeois, and this one underway. Bourgeois had an outstanding game last night. 3 hits, scored a run, drove in 2. We just documented. You go right up through the middle of the Reds defense. Barnhart, Suarez, Phillips, Bourgeois, all of them turning in big nights last night. Tucker Barnhart had 3 hits, 2 scored, 2 batted in. Phillips a couple of runs batted in. And Suarez the game-tying home run in the 6th inning. Good numbers for Jason on this trip. Herron making his 6th start as a Cub. The first 5 have not gone well compared to his season numbers while with Miami. On swinging Bourgeois. Let's check in for the first time tonight and say hello to Jim Day.
Hello, Tom. Check out our Elkineff storylines. You talked about the Reds' offense being feast or famine. They're just 4-14 in their last 18 games, but you'll win a lot of games scoring nearly 12 runs a game, 348 team average, and 10 home runs. But consistency has been the problem, and those 14 losses, just 2.2 runs per game. So Brian Price still searching for that consistent offense night in, night out.
Well, game number 131 is a patient man waiting for a consistent offense. One ball and 1 strike to Jay Bruce. Now here's a guy that really hasn't joined the party much of late. If there's any player on this Reds team that would just as soon forget all about the month of August and welcome the calendar gliding into September, it would be Jay Bruce. 0 for 4 last night, did draw a walk and scored a run. 2-1 to Jay. Herron has had a really nice major league career, been around a long time. Initially came up in the Cardinals organization. In fact, Walt Jocketty was the general manager for the Cardinals when they drafted Dan Herron. They moved him, I believe it was a Matt Holliday trade, if I remember right. Or was it Mark McGwire?
I think it was a Mark, maybe a Mark Mulder. No?
Mark Mulder, that's exactly right. Mark Mulder. Precisely. Herron went to Oakland. He's pitched for a number of different teams since then. And he has struck out the first 2 Reds here tonight. Let's take a look at the Cubs on defense. Presented by Ford. This is more the way the Cubs would look if tomorrow was the National League wild card 1-game playoff. They'd have Schwarber in left, Fowler in center, Coghlan in right, with Soler on the DL. They just bring up Javier Baez, highly touted second baseman, and we talked about him last night. You saw him at the end of last year, struck out all the time, but he's a very good defender. This ball is mashed, and that baby is long gone, halfway up into the seats in left center, and Votto gives the Reds a 1-0 lead.
The guy is ridiculous. I mean, I think he and Danny Herron both know that Herron does not have the stuff to get Votto out. Votto's going to have to get himself out tonight. And he is just locked in on the first pitch he sees. I mean, after Herron really fools around and gets the timing really all messed up on the first 2 hitters that the Reds send up there, Votto is thinking left center field. And that's exactly where he put it. Now, you got to remember that Votto swung at all of 2 pitches last night. All night long. One of them was for a hit, one was for a ground ball out. He's 1 for 1 tonight.
Well, he's been mashing ever since the Reds left Miami, ironically enough, after facing Dan Herron in that 4-game weekend series leading up to the All-Star break. It was down there in Miami where he found a flaw in his swing, working side by side with the Reds hitting coach Don Long. And ever since then, when the Reds came back, Votto was not in the All-Star game. Since coming back, he has been the National League's best hitter. Fly ball to right. I'm telling you, the ball's really going to carry as we go into the night here tonight because it is so hot. Votto is so hot. A home run way back to left center field. 1-0 Reds. Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. Just ask Jim Day. By Chevy. Check out our award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili. Can't wait to get back to town for some of that. Feeling good. It's Skyline time. Skyline of downtown Chicago along the Lake Michigan shoreline. Cubs lineup: Fowler, Schwarber, Coghlan, Rizzo, Bryant, Montero. Baez, his first game up. Herron and Russell. Anthony DeSclafani is having a rock-solid rookie year. Win-loss record, he'd like to flip that around. And really, outside of a couple of starts at home, if you take away 2 of them exactly, that earned run average would be just spectacular. It's already good.
You're right. You know, the thing about DeSclafani, he has been really a tough luck pitcher for the Reds. I mean, his last time out, good example.
Oh boy, was that ball hit.
You know, he faces Zach Greinke and the Dodgers and he loses 1-0. 5 times this year, DeSclafani has pitched in a ball game in which he has given up either 1 earned run or no earned runs, and he has not gotten a win. So when you're a starting pitcher, you cannot let that bother you. You've got to go out there and you go up zeros and hope your team is going to score 10 big ones tonight like they have in the past.
You know, as you pointed out on many occasions, the one thing about DeSclafani, and it's not just while he has a uniform on, it's when he's getting ready for a game in a clubhouse, whether it's getting on the bus to come over to the ballpark as he was today. You would never know if this guy just won a game and threw a 2-hit shutout or whether he just went 2 2/3 and gave up 5.
No.
There's really not a lot of emotion, expression outward.
Certainly. He's got a fire. I mean, you can tell that by the way he works out, the way he is focused during a ball game. And he's got enough on that fastball to go up in the zone like that and blow right by a pretty good fastball hitter in Kyle Schwarber.
I don't remember him going 96. And then he pulls a string on Schwarber, and that is see you later in a hurry.
Well, that's been the MO with Schwarber lately, is that he's proven to the league that he can hit a fastball. So they're teasing him over the plate, down low, and he just swings about every one of them. Well, that's a good long stride by DeSclafani. Gets way out over his left knee. Good extension.
Two down for the right fielder, Chris Coghlan.
I'll tell you what, he's got something on the ball tonight. And I know it's only the first inning. He's only a half a dozen pitches into this ball game. But 96 with the hammer that he's already shown, he's got some tools to use tonight.
Ball, one strike on Coghlan. And that one's fouled off out of play. On speed pitch there at 79 miles per hour. So Anthony in front of 1 ball and 2 strikes. Votto homers in the top of the inning. So the Reds out to the early 1-0 lead. Straight away center field. Caught by Bourgeois, banging into the ivy, which is banging into the bricks. 1-0 Reds at the end of 1. Ticket offer for you during tonight's game only. View level tickets are available for $10 to see the Reds and the Brewers at Great American Ballpark this weekend. $10. Go to Reds.com/FSOhio. Use the code FSOhio, and you can get $10 view level tickets right now for any game this weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Brewers coming to town. Brewers are back in action after an off day yesterday. They are entertaining the Pittsburgh Pirates. That one should be underway right about now. Frazier, a one-hopper down to third, gloved by Bryant. One away, Reds leading on a Joey Votto first inning home run to left center field, 1-0.
And you would have to figure that in a game started by Dan Herron, a home run may be significant because he has now, since he has given up that home run to Joey Votto, the 30th he has given up on the season, has the sole spot among the leaderboard there in all of Major League Baseball as most home runs given up. The key for Hara, though, and anybody who gives up a lot of home runs. I mean, here you talk about home run pitchers. Robin Roberts had given up at one time more home runs than anybody in the history of baseball, and he was in the Hall of Fame, had 285 wins. So as long as you give them up with nobody on base, sometimes they can be rally killers, and you give up a one run, and it's no big deal. Bert Blylev in the same way.
Yep. Well, bad news for both pitchers. We talked about because of the very warm temperatures and a lot of humidity in the air that the ball would be flying out of this ballpark tonight. And now all of a sudden there's a wind adding to it, starting to blow from home plate. That is one nice catch right there, made by Coghlan. He came a long way to get it. It can always be tricky, if not downright dangerous, when you're coming around the bullpen mound. This is a nice play.
Well, he's been all over the place. Coghlan, a former Rookie of the Year when he was with Miami. And he can play center field, left. He's in right tonight, and that is a dandy catch.
Coghlan's also played first, second, and third. So he truly is the most versatile player probably in the entire National League as far as getting significant playing time at one point in time or another due to injuries. Number of different players in and out of the lineup. 1-1 pitch on Suarez, taken up and away.
Well, of course, in order to do that, you have to have a manager that is willing to move you around and really not care about the repercussions. If you go out and he moves you to an unfamiliar position and you have a bad night, Joe Maddon's response is normally, I'm over this game. Let's talk about tomorrow's game.
Yeah, it was this ballpark the Reds played Yonder Alonso in left field for one game and never did it again. Reds defensively, presented by Floyd. Same group we saw here last night. And why not? You score 13 runs, you have 11 base hits, and you win. Why change it up, Mr. Welch? Anthony DeSclafani working on a 1-2-3 opening inning. So here we go on to the second. And Anthony Rizzo, the Cub first baseman, National League All-Star again this year, looks at strike one. Joey Votto, a home run with 2 outs and nobody on in the first inning, the game's only run.
Well, now the breeze that you mentioned, Tom, was just very lightly blowing straight out the center field, has really picked up. And the key for pitchers, when you pitch on a game like, don't even look at the flags. Just look at the kneecaps. That's where you want to place those fastballs.
In the air, left center field. And short of the warning track, it'll be De Jesus for out number 1.
This is really the first time in that the Reds have had any measure of warm weather at all. When they came in April, the temperature ranged between 45 degrees and 51. The wind was blowing in anywhere from 2 miles an hour to 15 miles per hour. They came in July. It was 51 and 52 degrees on those 2 nights. And the wind again was blowing in anywhere from 7 to 15. So all good pitching days really up until last night and then especially tonight. Last night was 75. Tonight, 85. Feels like 105 up here.
Boy, it sure does. It is really, really warm. Well, the humidity's back for the first time in a long time. I understand Cincinnati's the same way. Reached the mid-90s back in Cincinnati today. Swing and a miss by Bryant. DeSclafani has thrown a first pitch strike to each of the first 5 Cub hitters in the game. And ahead of Bryant, 0-2. Bryant continues to just foul him off from the third baseline. Of course, Bryant, along with his teammate Anthony Rizzo, were 2 of the 4 players representing the National League in the home run derby this year in Cincinnati. And both Cubs were eliminated in the first round. Soft line to center field, a base hit by Bryant. Didn't sound real solid coming off the bat, but it finds a hole. Now we get our first look in quite some time at the man the Cubs brought in during this offseason to be their regular catcher, and that he is Miguel Montero. He was on the disabled list the last time the Reds saw the Cubs. Schwarber was doing all the catching. Had a left thumb sprain. And activated on the 7th of August. So he's been back a little over 3 weeks. And they're glad to have him back. That's a good player. He was on the receiving end Sunday night of that no-hitter thrown by Jake Arrieta. Montero, the first year of his career where he is not wearing an Arizona Diamondbacks uniform. That's a franchise he came up through their system and became their regular catcher in short order. Cubs are making it tough on DeSclafani once he gets ahead a couple of strikes.
Well, you're right. And you know what? The one thing that he was able to do in the first inning was elevate that fastball a little bit. He's a guy that likes to live down around the knees. But when you elevate that four-seamer, you have a chance to get some strikeouts, some swing and misses up around the letters.
That is the 8th foul ball by a Cub hitter in this half inning. So you wonder about pitch count sometime? Think about that. All the 2-strike foul balls by Bryant a moment ago. Now 3 in a row by Montero. So DeSclafani right now could very easily be somewhere about 17, 18 pitches were it not for all these foul balls. And there's another one.
You know, you get enough foul balls early in a ball game, and you can really calculate that it takes an inning off your overall workload and how far you can go into a ball game. So how that affects the game, affects the team, affects the middle reliever.
Every pitch in this at bat Montero has fouled off. Not this time. Playable for Suarez, who calls off Frazier, and that's all for Montero. 2 away in the inning, and Bryant still at first. Well, Cub fans have been hearing about Javier Baez seemingly since the day he signed his first professional contract. Some big time seasons in the minor leagues. They brought him up last year. It did not go well. Struck out a ton. Went into spring training this year with a chance to win the everyday second base job. It didn't happen. But brought up from AAA Iowa today. And he joins the Cubs riding a 16-game hitting streak. 32 hits in his last 72 at-bats. That is a .444 average. And overall this season, he's been a .324 hitter. He's got some major league pop in that bat.
Well, he has a major league swing. I mean, he really cuts it loose. And when you have a young man with this much power and this much of a desire to do well, you play on that aggressiveness by expanding the zone when you get ahead.
Well, the major knock on Baez last year is that he was striking out at a rate which you play it out over the course of an entire year, he would have obliterated the major league record. Struck out 95 times in 213 at-bats.
But one of the things that he would do, and most hitters that strike out are chasing pitches down and away, and they're flailing at him, and he did that in this at-bat already. But if you look at his setup and see how closed his feet are, his back foot is well away from the inside line. His front foot is right on the inside line, close to the plate. So when you're closed like that, he just lifts his foot up, puts it back down, so he never flies open, at least with his hips. And that must be an adjustment that they've made with him to try to stay on that pitch on the outer part of the plate. You don't see too many big league hitters with that setup with regard to footwork.
Chris Bryant has 12 stolen bases. He's been thrown out 4 times this season. 2-2 on Javier Baez. Got him swinging. That's just like the Baez we saw in September. 1 hit, 1 left. Reds lead 1-0. Here on the Reds, they take on the Milwaukee Brewers in a 3-game series Friday through Sunday, presented by Cincinnati Bell. We have the Friday night Grateful Dead night. First 20,000 fans on Saturday receive a Red Stein. So a great weekend. Sunday's always family day at the ballpark. And don't forget, by the way, Saturday's game is a 1:10 in the afternoon first pitch. So we'll look forward to seeing you over the weekend. Per usual, a lot of Reds fans make the trip when they come here to Chicago. Obviously, a lot more show up on weekends, summer weekend. It feels like a summer night. Reds lead Dan Herron and the Cubbies 1-0 on a Joey Votto first inning home run. Told you about Barnhart, what a really nice game he had, both at the plate and behind it. 3 hits. 2 RBIs, 2 scored. Tell you what, he made a big play in the 8th inning, throwing out the trail runner in a double steal.
Key play last night. I mean, it's always advisable to go to the backside to try to get that runner. And a throw right on him was just in time. Tucker was pumped. I mean, yeah, I like it too.
Love it.
He plays with a little passion. And you know what? When you're 30 games back, it's a little hard to dial up that passion unless you really feel it.
No doubt. This guy's a gamer. High fly ball down the right field line. Playable for Coughlin. 1 away. Of every ball put in play, every out so far has been a fly ball out for Dan Herron.
Even the hit was a fly ball.
Out. Oh, I beg your pardon. Frazier had a ground ball. All but one. Forgive me. Yeah, but Votto's was a fly ball.
Yeah.
Out.
It was out. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm glad you picked up on that.
Thank you. You know, we were talking before the game. Not going to sneak anything by me or you. I'll tell you that.
Not tonight.
No. So you look all over the ballpark, and you know, a lot of summer day games or night games, you'll see people, just as you look out kind of over the big broad picture up the right side of the ballpark. Gone swinging DeSclafani 2 away in the end. You see people fanning themselves and all that kind of thing. Well, this is one of those kind of nights. Very sticky. But these guys out on the field, they've been playing in this kind of weather since they were in their 9, 10 years old. No big deal. In fact, for some of them, like Bourgeois, he's even wearing long sleeves. Well, cut off anyway. Rizzo's got the long sleeves on. That was really nice of you to try to mess around with Pat Hughes, legendary radio voice of the Chicago Cubs before the game today. Guys, an institution here, and you know,
all around nice guy.
Early in the year, Jason Bourgeois was not with a club. That's a foul ball. And so, you know, he leaned his head in our booth. You and I are sitting here, and he said, "Hey, is it Jason Borges? Jason Borges, right?" And you said, "Yeah, that's right." Guy turns around, walks away.
I didn't hear him clarify by saying Jason Borges. I thought he may have been referring to Peter Borges.
Did Peter Borges get traded to somebody here tonight?
Not that I know of.
All right. Well, then, you know,
that was a total mistake on my part.
That is a sophomoric move, which I would normally highly endorse, except for when you do it to Pat Hughes.
Yeah.
Swinging a foul ball out of play. Of course, it was earlier this year when it was New York when Bourgeois had first come up, been activated off the disabled list, and we had that shot at Citi Field. Player unknown. They were unaware that he had been brought up to the major leagues and had no idea who he was. Looking around for number 30. The fly ball to right center field in a 1-2-3 inning for Dan Herron. Reds only one base runner. That's a home run by Votto, but it's good enough for a 1-0 lead after 2.5. Won't want to miss the story of Reds employee Chris Harrell and his meeting at Great American Ballpark with a man who saved his life from the other side of the globe. Plus go inside the war room at the Reds fantasy football draft. Jeff Pecoro, Doug Flynn as always your hosts. And we'll have it right after Reds Live, after the Reds and Cubs game tomorrow right here on Fox Sports Ohio. DeSclafani and the Redlegs, a 1-0 lead as Herron bats to start the bottom of the third inning. Jam-packed, nearly jam-packed into Wrigley Field. Only a very small number of seats in the second deck down the right field line, likewise down the left field line, unoccupied. Those bleachers are rocking and rolling every day and every night.
They're hard. Those are hard seats to get. Hard tickets to get.
Gone, swinging his Heron, and that is the third one of the game.
I know I've told this story before, but I had on a dark day, which was a non-TV day, Reds were playing years and years ago. I had Gary Wayoff, the traveling secretary, give me 4 seats behind home plate. I took him out there with a friend of mine. I wanted to go and sit in the bleachers. Told him, hey, we'll go out and sit in the bleachers. We'll have a Wrigley kind of day. I had 4 behind home plate seats. Walked up and down the waiting line to get tickets in the bleachers, and they told me to go pound sand. Nobody wants to sit behind home plate. We're bleacher creatures.
They are.
Yeah. Go figure.
Addison Russell batting 9th. Count of 2 balls and a strike. Keep you up to date on all the other teams that are in contention for playoff spots in both the National and American leagues. We can tell you Milwaukee scores 4 times in the bottom of the first inning against the Pirates. Cubs are always checking that out, just like they're keeping an eye on those Giants who lost in extra innings last night. Adrian Gonzalez sealing the victory for Don Mattingly's team, which meant the Cubs did not lose despite their loss to the Reds. Any ground in their lead over the Giants for the second wild card in the National League. 3-2 pitch. Got him swinging. Guys dealing the night.
Well, he's got plenty of stuff. We noticed that in the very first inning. The key now for DeSclafani is just not get too happy out there and kind of rear back and just think you can throw it by everybody. Continue to work the corners, become a pitcher tonight. When you have that combination of good stuff and pitching location, that's when you can really put a good ball game together. And so far, so good.
And DeSclafani is the kind of guy who is always so focused. We were talking about him earlier. Shows very little emotion on the outside, always very calm. But you can rest assured that, you know, you can learn something from anybody out there on the mound, not just the great ones. I mean, it was his time last night when Michael Lorenzen looked like DeSclafani looks like right now.
Yeah.
Lorenzen went through the front 4 innings last night, allowed 3 hits, only 1 run. That was a solo home run, punched out 5. And then the wheels fell off the very next inning.
Well, and this at bat to Dexter Fowler. He's the 10th batter to bat against DeSclafani tonight, and he is the first batter that DeSclafani has not thrown a first pitch strike to.
Yeah, but he threw a 3rd pitch strike to him.
You like that better?
The fans aside, 5 of them in the game for Anthony DeSclafani.
On this September 1st, it's the day you can expand rosters and call guys up. The Reds did not call up many. In fact, just 2. We have seen Carlos Contreras before. He's making his 3rd stint with the Reds this season. And Ramon Cabrera, who's a switch-hitting catcher, .290 average in 86 games at AAA Louisville. To make room on the 40-man, Dylan Axelrod was designated for assignment. September baseball is very unique, and Brian Price, for one, doesn't like a bunch of expanded rosters. He says you play the game for 5 months with a 25-man roster, particularly in the National League, where you got to manage that 25-man roster night in and night out. He says all of a sudden you get in September and then you're in a playoff race, or other teams are in playoff races, and you have an endless bullpen. Sometimes late in games you can see a bunch of pinch runners, for example, and he's one that doesn't like it. There's been a lot of talk about perhaps expanding rosters, but on each night just designating maybe just 30 players that will play on any particular night. I don't know if that has any legs with Major League Baseball, but there's been a lot of talk about it.
Well, Brews say 5-pitch at bat is gone on strikes, and that's 4 of them for Dan Herron. You know, when it comes to all that roster stuff, Chris, the bottom line is if you're a contending team, and I'm not suggesting that non-contending teams should not try and win a game, would never dare suggest that. You take the field, you lay it all on the line for your team, for yourself. But you can understand it's like when the Reds first brought up Billy Hamilton a couple of years ago, and they're trying to bring the wild card in 2013 and get that spot. You carry Billy Hamilton to come into a game and steal a base.
Right.
You know, you carry an extra fill in the blank. Maybe a power guy from the left side and a power guy from the right side just to sit on your bench in case you need one swing of the bat the last week of September that maybe clinches a playoff spot for you. Now, for some of the other teams, I mean, the Reds are doing enough looking at young players in many regards as it is already.
Well, they're taking a look at young pitchers.
Sure. And, I mean, you're not going to bench any of the veteran players they have.
Well, see, that's the question that you have, because you can put yourself in Brian Price's spot and you think, all right, you know, we want to win ball game. I'm the manager. I've got a record that's going to go down next to my name as far as wins and losses every year. And I don't want to give up losses. And at the same time, I want to keep the integrity of the game such that I'm not going to help sway the way the postseason goes, because I'm not playing the best team I can on every given night, trying to win that game every way I can. But at the same time, the organization's got to be thinking, man, we got these guys on a big league roster. We activate them on a roster in September so that they can take big league batting practice and watch a game from the dugout and really do nothing else. I mean, now better than ever is a time when you're going to find out what you have in a young player. Better than March, way better than spring training at any time. And so this is the way you have to balance it if it's Brian. I mean, you can't start the whole Louisville team up here. You've got to try to put a team on the field that's going to win every night, but at the same time, try to look whenever you can at a young player. Well, Joey Votto, one swing in his first at bat, went for a home run, the only run of the game. The last at bat, or at least plate appearance, was one of those in which he never took that bat off his shoulder.
Now 21 consecutive games, Votto has reached base safely. And Brandon loops one in the left field, a base hit. So a walk to Votto, a single to Phillips, and here comes Frazier, as the Reds are looking to add to a 1-0 lead over Herron and the Cubs. Frazier bounced out to the third baseman Bryant, his only time up tonight. Strike one. First time all night Herron's been pitching from the stretch after that walk to Votto. Remember, he had retired every batter he faced in the game except for Votto. And Votto hit one of the seats in the bleachers out in left center field. 1 ball and 1 strike on Frazier. Good eye there to put himself in a good hitter's count. There's a weak pop up in the shallow center. That'll be the second out of the inning. Herron is a guy who has clearly been around the block more than 4 or 5 times. He rarely ever walks batters. Over 100 and nearly 160 innings, only 31 walks, and having not seen every start, it's probably a safe bet. Maybe half of those are walks like we saw with Votto a moment ago.
Here's what Herron does, and does so well at this point in his career. You ask yourself, all right, well, what is he going to do? Well, he's probably going to pitch me away. And when he pitches me away, I'm going to look outside. But the problem is he throws a little bit more outside. You're looking away, and your tendency is to chase that pitch away. And that's how oftentimes he gets you out.
There's a pitch, breaking ball, down and away, trying to get De Jesus to chase it. Doesn't do it. Doesn't chase that one either.
But you have to know when you go to the plate against Andy Herron that you're not sitting back waiting for a fastball right down Broadway, because it'll be a long wait. He just knows he's not going to get away with that.
2 out, 2 on. And out in front of the plate. Getting over. Red strand 2. They lead. Middle of the 4th, 1-0.
At Wrigley Field tonight has been some kind of outstanding. Came out throwing the ball 96 miles an hour in the first inning. He picked up a strikeout in that inning, 1 in the second, and then struck out the side in the third. So count them up. Scafani has 5 of them all together. As we go to the bottom of the 4th inning, that 1-0 lead the Reds have due to a solo home run by Joey Votto.
35 strikes, only 10 balls thrown by this Reds rookie right-hander thus far tonight. Two, 3, and 4 in the batting order. Schwarber, who struck out his first time up, to be followed by Coghlan, who has the hardest hit ball of any Cub batter in their lineup tonight. That's when he hammered one to straightaway center field, and Bourgeois caught it and then banged into the ivy, ending the first inning. The only Cub hit was a little flare off the end of the bat into center field off the bat of Chris Bryant. So he starts off Schwarber 2-0. Five strikeouts, no walks, one hit, no runs. Reds have scored one behind DeSclafani so far. And there's a fastball 2-0 pitch, strike call. Fooled him. Down and in, 2-2. So it won't take pitchers long to find your holes. We didn't think Schwarber had a hole when we saw him in Cincinnati. Now he's run into some balls,
and he still
made no mistake about it. He only hit .230 in the month of August, but he hit 9 home runs. He scored 23 runs, and he drove in 25 for the month. So
what do you do with the Cubs if you are the Cubs and Schwarber continues to struggle here through the month of September like he has over the last couple of weeks?
You would have the option of, or really multiple options.
I mean, they have other veteran players that they picked up. Austin Jackson, an outfielder that they picked up, right-handed hitter. Doesn't have the kind of power that Schwarber potentially has. And maybe Joe Maddon's thinking, you know what, for a young man like Schwarber, you get hot early on, you kind of surprise the league, they begin to figure you out, you make an adjustment, and in a few weeks, maybe he'll be back in the groove. The young man is willing to work, we know that.
And they're hoping that Soler has a chance to get back before, you know, however long the postseason run, if they get there to begin with, might be for the Cubs. He's out with an oblique strain, and we know those can take a long, long time to get better. Well, we talked about all the versatility with his team. And they bring Baez up tonight. Castro's sitting on the bench. Coghlan has played all the outfield positions. Move him around. Bryant's played in the outfield.
Yeah.
Slow roller, right side. Brandon will make the play to his left. One out. Well, if the season ended today, the Cubs would travel to Pittsburgh for the one-game wild card, and the Reds know all about that. Of course, that was a very different Pittsburgh than now, meaning that was the first year they had had a winning season in over 20 years. And the environment that night in Pittsburgh, I'm not sure there's ever been a greater environment in all the baseball history than there was at PNC Park that night, when they clearly rattled Johnny Cueto a little bit, and they were really giving it to him, and he had a terrible start. Jumped all over him with home runs, chanting his name, dropping the ball out on the mound, and then they let him have it even more. And the Reds were really never in that game right from the start. And depending on how hard you had to work to get to that game, meaning, you know, you're going all the way down to the last day, or do you clinch the second wild card spot, say 4 or 5 days early, if not earlier than that? Right now they have a 5.5 game lead. where you can tinker around with your rotation. Popped up, handled by Frazier for the second out of the inning. And of course, we invite you, as always, the folks at T-Mobile want you to tweet your strongest fan photo. Use hashtag #OhioDataStrongFan. We'll have one coming up later. The Pirates, clearly, we want to try to line up Garrett Cole. You can't always do that. And I would imagine, even though Lester has more of the postseason big game experience, at the end of the day, the way Arrieta's pitched this year, he'd be the guy you'd want on the hill. Those are the kind of decisions, we always talk about lineups and the day in, the day out of the 162 game schedule. But you can bet your bottom dollar. He's not going to admit it to anybody. But Joe Maddon is already thinking about what if. That's what great managers and great leaders do. You've got to think about what might happen and give yourself time to think it through. And it would come down to simply this. Arrieta's been their best pitcher, but he's never been in a game like that in his whole career. Lester has been in a pile of games like that in his career. You go on the road, you're pitching in that environment. Does experience count for anything? That's a decision Joe Maddon has to wrestle with. Fastball up and in, 2-1 to Bryant.
Now, without even looking at what those numbers are for either of those pitchers against, say, the Pittsburgh Pirates, that's a good question. I don't think there's any question who the ace is here. I mean, Jake Arrieta just fresh coming off a no-hitter. And he is not only lucked into a no-hitter, I mean, he's taken a no-hitter into the 5th and 6th inning about 7 or 8 times, this year. This guy is as good as they come.
They're going to try and go get this. Broken bat single, second one of the night for Bryant. We're tied at 1. Well, that ball's in the air a long time.
Cubs had a couple of hits like this last night that seemed to just find the holes. In this one, no man's land. Votto going out hard. He never does reach his glove out to see if he can make a grab on that. Maybe he just didn't feel that he was anywhere close to it, and he wasn't. Nothing you can do about it.
Nope. It's bad luck.
I mean, the little squibber by Coughlin to get him over to second base, and then he scores on that.
Well, it all started with a leadoff walk.
There's the 80% rule.
Threw it right by him. 1-2 to Miguel Montero.
Yeah, reach back for a little bit more. They call that an angry fastball. You're angry you gave up a run. You're angry you walked the leadoff hitter that came around to score. And you're angry you made a good pitch against a fluke hit that drives the run in.
DeSclafani paid a lot of attention to Bryant the last time he reached first base. Threw over there a number of times. Bryant has 12 steals in 16 attempts. Struck him out, and that will end the inning. A leadoff walk, a bleeder ground ball, and a bleeder bloop single ties this game at 1. The Eugenio Suarez, a drive to the seats in right center field with a man aboard to tie the game. The Reds would end up scoring 4 in that 6th inning and go on to win it. The Eugenio bringing the energy with IGS, is ranked since taking over as the everyday shortstop. Batting average #1, 3rd most home runs, tied for 1st runs batted in, 2nd best on base and slugging percentages among all National League shortstops in 2.5 months.
Pretty good first impression.
Of course, Zach Kozar got off to such a great start this year. He was having the best start to any season of his major league career. All of a sudden, that position offensively at shortstop, it's always been in great hands defensively when Kozar was there. And Kozar plans on having that job back next season, of course. But it's gone from, really a black hole offensively to really one of the best positions on this Reds team in 1 year. Because it was without question the worst last year.
Well, if you combine the numbers that Zach Kozar put up in the first half before he was injured with the numbers that Suarez has done since Kozar's been on the disabled list, you really have a package of the best shortstop in the National League.
Here's Barnhardy flied out to the right fielder his first time up. Here Heron has 65 pitches. And Joe Madden has his bullpen up already. We talked about it last night. If your last name doesn't start with L or A, as in Lester or Arrieta, Captain Hook is on the prowl. And in this case, that's Joe Madden. He went to the bullpen early last night and came back to get him. His starter gave up 3 runs in 5 innings. The first man he brought in faced 4 batters and gave up 4 runs. And that was the lead for the night. Two-two pitch.
Well, what Herron has working for him, of course, is the pitcher in the on-deck circle. What he has working against him is the guy at the plate that had 3 hits last night. Tucker swinging the bat well.
Drives this ball to deep left center field, and it's over the head of Fowler. And Tucker swinging the bat well indeed. 3 hits last night. And that's an extra base hit, a double to left center field. His second at bat tonight.
I think he really surprised the Cubs with how far that ball went off his bat. It did not look like Fowler really went after that ball hard from the first couple of steps of his break. He was shaded a little bit towards left field. It almost looked like a one-handed swing, but the ball kept going and going and going. And that's part the strength of Tucker Barnhart and part thermals working here at Wrigley Field.
Well, perhaps Anthony DeSclafani is just going to have to take the matters into his own hands. In his last 2 games, he's pitched brilliantly. The Reds have scored virtually nothing behind him. 1 run in 2 games. Losing both of those to Zach Greinke. And there you go. Base hit into left field. They're going to wave around the runner. Here comes the throw to the plate. Barnhart will be safe at the plate. And how about DeSclafani? He says, boys, get on my back. I'll handle it from here. 2-1 ball game.
I cannot believe that Herron would throw him a first pitch fastball with a runner at second base. Maybe it was a cutter. Maybe he just hung it out there. But I mean, it looks like he center cuts that pitch waist high. And good for Anthony to be able to put the good part of the bat on it and drive in a key run. Oh, that's big.
Good slide there by Tucker. Got that left paw right on the plate.
Yeah, Montero made that a lot closer than I thought it would be.
That ball should be a double play here. But the Reds get the double by Barnhart. The single by DeSclafani.
During tonight's game only, view level tickets are available for just $10 to see the Reds at GABP this weekend. Go to reds.com/FSOhio and use the code FSOhio and get your $10 view level tickets now for any game this weekend. Jim Day, we talked about the expanded rosters announced today. Reds calling up 2, and they also announced the prestigious Arizona Fall League rosters. And here are the players going to the Fall League, and this is by invite only. You're going against the best of the best prospects. Nick Travieso has a really good shot at solidifying himself if he has a solid Arizona Fall League. Steven Johnson, also a right-handed pitcher. Lane Thompson, Zach Weiss, Chad Wallach, the son of Tim Wallach, Alex Blandino, who has been terrific at shortstop. He's now at Double-A, hit a home run at Double-A tonight. And Phillip Ervin's another guy, a former first-round pick, who has had a slow start to his minor league career, who could really solidify himself as well if he has a good Arizona Fall League. And again, you are going against the best prospects in the game in this league. So there are the Reds that will take part.
Well, it's great stuff, Jim Day. Thank you very much. Jim likes to sneak out there to Arizona and check out that Fall League from time to time once the regular baseball season comes to an end.
He's a man on the move.
Every now and again he'll check out a game with Walt Jocketty. Walt makes his home out there in Arizona. Two-1 ball game after the double by Barnhart and the single to drive him in by the pitcher Anthony DeSclafani. Herron has only thrown 73 pitches. He averages exactly 6 innings per start. Fly ball to right. Now he's not averaged that as a Cub, and perhaps that's what Joe Madden is thinking. He says, look, those other numbers for the Marlins are all fine and dandy. He's now pitching for the Cubs. Still only giving up 2 runs, Chris, and 4 base hits. But he might be coming out of this game. He is now. It's official. Tommy La Stella takes over the pinch hit for Dan Herron.
Just kind of shows you where the Cubs are right now, that, you know, a 4-inning start for their starters enough. We'll just turn over the bullpen from here.
But let me ask you, look, I mean, every manager, no matter how great they are, can make a bad decision from time to time.
Oh, sure,
we know that.
Of course.
Chris, we have over a month left in the season. And you can say, well, yeah, you're going to bring up reinforcements from the minor leagues. That's fine and dandy. Joe Madden would just assume not one of those guys ever pitch in a game the rest of this season. And that they can just keep on rolling every night and wrap up the wild card and move on into the postseason. But, you know, here we are 2 nights in a row. You're taking your starter out after 5 innings and a pitch count in the 70s. How long can you do that to your bullpen?
Well, you're playing situational matchups really from the 6th inning on. So you have your starter go 5, and now if Herron goes back out there, the first batter he faces is Bruce. Now he struck out if he would have gone back there. First batter he would have faced would have been Jay Bruce. Next guy, Joey Votto, hasn't retired. Votto gave up a home run. There's no way that he's going to allow Herron to face Votto, so why not just go ahead and pinch hit for him right here instead of matching him up with Bruce? I don't think it's a matter of feeling like you got enough out of Herron. I think it's the matter of you're playing game inning by inning, situation by situation when you're Joe Madden early in a ball game, much earlier than you would probably in any other part of the season.
We'll see the Cubs again late. We'll see how some of those arms are hanging down that bullpen. Because if this is the game plan, that means 3 days a week, all hands better be on deck. And if Lester or Arrieta has a bad start, look out. And Joe Madden is very much a believer, and he'll tell you that he very much buys into the stats that tell you about starters. You know, that 3rd time through the lineup and the numbers. But by and large, I mean, you know, outside of a pitcher here, and these are truly the great pitchers, most pitchers don't fare as well the 3rd time through the batting.
No, sure.
A foul ball. Just off the corner. Philadelphia has just scored 8 runs in the 6th inning. A 2-run lead over the Mets is now a 10-run lead. And did he go the appeal? Yes, sir, he did. Mets off for the Cubbies. Good bounce back inning for DeSclafani after he gets the 1-run lead. 7 punch outs on the night. Ford dealer. Ford, go further. By Meyer, find more for a healthier you at Meyer. By Duke Energy, delivering more than just electricity, it's power for your life. And by Cincinnati Children's, ranking 3rd in the country on the U.S. News and World Report's best children's hospitals in America. And as always, we wish a special hello to those of you watching over at Cincinnati Children's tonight. Hoping your day's been a good one. And pray tomorrow is a better one. 2-1 game. Reds lead the Cubs. Clayton Richard. We saw him for 2/3 of an inning last night. Former longtime starter with the San Diego Padres delivers a strike. He's on to face the lefties Bruce and Votto, and they have action from the right side in their bullpen. Aaron goes 5, allows 4 hits and 2 runs. A couple of other changes. Again, you look at the versatility of this Cub team. Here they're bringing a player up from the minor leagues. His first start of the year, they move him from second base to shortstop, and they leave La Stella in to play second base. La Stella can play short. He can play third. That ball hammered by Jay Bruce, and that's all the way out by the well. And Bruce will coast in with a leadoff double here in the 6th inning.
Bruce, all he needed was a left-hander in the ball game to start swinging the bat right. He could not figure out Dan Herron at all. A couple of strikeouts. So Joe Madden goes with bullpen. It brings in a left-hander specifically to get Bruce and Votto out. And he hangs a breaking ball, and Bruce is right on it.
Here's Votto. He is homered to left center field and drawn a walk. First pitch swinging, shoots it foul and out of play. It's got to be the 3rd or 4th time that Johnny Cueto has started for Kansas City against Detroit. And tonight, you talk about a matchup. Cueto v. Verlander. And Verlander in front early on. 3-1 at the end of 3. 0-2 now to Votto. A big run out there at second base. Reds leading by just a single digit. Here's a pitch. Served down the left field line. Off the glove of a diving Schwarber. Bruce will score. Votto a run scoring double. He's knocked in 2 of the 3 tonight. That's an incredible piece of hitting. Obviously a great effort out there by Schwarber, but what a piece of hitting this is.
I'm a little surprised that you're even going to pitch to Joey Votto. As hot as he is right now, it really doesn't matter who is on the mound. Although that was a pretty good pitch. He was down and in, kind of protecting on that pitch, and just was able to slice that ball by the Cubs left fielder.
95% of the guys in the big leagues check swing and miss it.
Yeah, or they foul it off their foot.
It's unbelievable. So once again, Madden, you know, your starter gives you 5 innings and 2 runs. And for the second night in a row, the guy that replaces the starter gives up runs before getting it out. This will be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. This was a guy who gave up 4 of them last night. Two batters for the Reds here in the 6th inning. 2 left-handed batters against Clayton Richard. Double-double. Run home, and now we get a look at Justin Grimm.
Having a pretty good year is Grimm. A low batting average against, a low earned run average, a very firm fastball. But he did not have a good night last night when he came in the 3rd of an inning and gave up 4 runs. He was the one pitcher in that Cubs bullpen that really gave it up.
Brandon waiting. And a 1-1. Rizzo's going to come to 3rd. What a nice play that is by
Rizzo. Boy, there are only a handful of first basemen in all the major leagues who will even try that. And the first one that I remember seeing do that on a regular basis was Albert Pujols. And He really trusts his arm, and he comes up firing across the infield. Perfect throw. You know, Votto did the right thing. He goes to third base on a ball that is hit to his left. That's just good defense.
Sure is. All right, so runner at first base. 1 out in the inning. Reds lead 3-1. By the way, the base hit RBI by Anthony DeSclafani was the first hit by a Reds pitcher since Raisel Iglesias got his first major league hit all the way back on the 18th of August. Reds pitchers have gone 0 for 26. It's the first RBI by a Reds pitcher since Lorenzen knocked in a run in July. Wow.
A running start there for Phillips and no chance. I mean, as soon as Grimm looked away from first base, Brandon Phillips took off. That's one of those plays that pitchers just hate. You hold the ball, you hold the ball, you hold the ball, and just as you're thinking about coming to home plate, the umpire calls time, but before that, the batter has to ask for it. Grimm's holding it a long time because he's worried about Phillips.
Brandon is now one stolen base away from 20. This season lighter than he's been in the last number of years. And he's playing like it. Not that he ever got heavy. It was nothing like that. It's just you get a little older. All of us will slow down a little. He's taunting Grimm out there at second base, and a breaking ball is in there, a strike. Now 3-2 on Frazier. Grimm the pause, a check of Phillips to the plate. That's a fastball right down the middle. 2 out.
I think Frazier read that as a slider, and it just came back and touched the outside corner.
If the Reds are going to get one more here in this inning, it's up to Ivan De Jesus Jr. He is fouled out to right and tapped out to the catcher. There goes Phillips. There's number 20. The count on De Jesus. and there a strike. It was ugly for Grimm last night, as we mentioned. He came in to start the 6th inning, a clean inning to face the bottom pad of the batting order. He walked this man, De Jesus, gave up a home run to the man who waits on deck, Suarez, then allowed a single to Barnhart and a 2-run pinch hit home run to Adam Duvall. Did not record an out until the next batter before he was yanked out of the game. But that has not been the MO on Grimm. He's having a good year. Games. And really, you take away when he came into the game last night, his ERA was in the 1.5s and jumped just over 2. 1-2 pitch. Going away. We talked so much about Phillips. A total of 7 stolen bases over the last 2 years. He had a short run there where he was a 20-20 player, even a 30-30 player. After first coming over and establishing himself as a National Leaguer from Cleveland. And now 20 of 22 this year. 2-2 pitch. Got him swinging on the inning. Reds get a big run off Clayton Ritchie and extend their lead to 2.
Got the chance. You can register today for the inaugural Tri-County Mall Brandon Phillips Bowling Bash on Saturday, September 5th at the Super Bowl in Erlanger, Kentucky. Join Brandon and his Reds teammates for an exciting evening of food, fun, and bowling, all while raising money for the Reds Community Fund. Visit reds.com/bowling and sign up today. Very studious-looking Brandon Phillips right there in that shot.
Jim, will you be swinging by there?
I have a previous engagement, but I am trying to get by there for a little bit to meet and greet some people at the door.
That'd be very, very nice. What's your bowling average? Do you bowl enough to have an average?
No. I bowled against him, though, once, and he was bowling between his legs and beat me.
Well, he's a really good bowler, right?
He's got 4 300 games.
Yeah, he's like exceptionally good.
He's dead serious about, after his baseball career, exploring trying to make it on the professional bowlers.
Well, if you can roll 4 300 games, your average is going to be way up there. Well, you'd have a chance to compete. Line drive to right field. And after all, you're talking to the one-time voice of the Hudapole King of TV bowling. So be very careful before you try to sneak anything by me on the lanes. Me and my main man, Dave Newrath, and Jennifer Hoinke.
I had you for a gutter guy a long time ago.
There's no question.
What's your average?
No, I'm not a bowler. I'm just a bowling commentator.
I got you.
Yes.
The Chris Schenkel of Cincinnati.
That's right. That's right. Very proud of that show. We had a lot of fun on that show. A lot of the guys on our home crew worked on that show every week. We would tape it at 6:30 in the morning every Sunday in the dead of winter. How many of you see 6 o'clock in the morning in January and February? Especially if you saw 2. 1-2 to count on Schwarber. DeSclafani has only allowed 2 hits, both of them to Chris Bryant, and both of them broken bat flares. Bryant a single that barely made it over the shortstop's head into left center in the second inning, and then the broken bat pop-up down the right field line that dropped fair to knock in a run. Now Schwarber cannot draw a walk again. This is where DeSclafani walked Schwarber leading off the 4th, and he's the guy that wound up scoring the run. DeSclafani, this is a night. There's a base hit. He earned his way off. You know, they say oftentimes that a pitcher can't control whether or not he wins or loses a game, and we see cases every week where that's absolutely true. Now here the last couple of games against Zach Greinke, Reds were shut out 1-0. They lost 2-1. There's not a lot DeSclafani can do about that. But there are games where a pitcher does have his fate in his hands, and you got to win a game. Tonight's a game DeSclafani's got to win the game. He's ahead 3-1, and we're in the 6th.
Well, he's been really good with his control, and if you look how he has improved from the first half to the second half, you can see why his overall performances have been better. First half, he had all these games with 3 or more base on balls, 6 of them altogether, and he's tightened that down to just 1. And the average number of walks per 9 innings way down, of course, accordingly too. I mean, you got to remember this. DeSclafani is what, 25 years old? He's still learning. I mean, he's ahead of some other 25-year-olds, maybe behind some 25-year-olds that are out there right now. But I think the Reds are very happy with the way the deal with the Marlins has worked out with DeSclafani on your roster now.
No question about that. I mean, he's had a much better year straight up than Matt Latos has had.
There's no doubt. And the upside is really, really interesting for DeSclafani. Because he's still learning about himself. He's learning about the league. He's learning about the, pitching in the major leagues every 5th day for an entire season. And he's pitched in a lot of tight games.
Sure has.
And that really sharpens you.
Nice block by Tucker. He wanted to throw down there. That'll be a wild pitch, getting the runner in the scoring position. 2-2 on Coghlan. Runner at second base. Reds with a 2-run lead here in the last of the 6th inning. Second batter in a row. He's run the count 3-2 on. To make a pitch right here. You get the big boy starting next. And he made a pitch in and out of the mid after the foul tip of Barnhart, so we'll do it once more. 3-2. .92 pitches in the game for DeStefano. 1 out, 1 on. We're in the 6th. And for the first time, bodies begin to stir around in the Reds bullpen. And really, it's been the last 5 hitters where the pitch count's starting to rise. 4 of the last 5, he's gone to 3 balls and 2 strikes on.
Well, they had that long at bat in the 2nd inning against Montero. Finally got a pop up out of him. It's a hot night, and he's been working hard.
Yeah. 6 pitches in the at-bat to Schwarber. 7 pitches in this at-bat to Coghlan. And that's the 3rd time in this at-bat that Coghlan has waited a long time on DeStefano to okay to sign and ask for timeout. Three and 2 once more. 8 pitches in this at-bat. 14 in the last 2 hitters alone. DeStefano knows this is a big out. Just the way this Cub lineup right now with injury to Soler. They have Coghlan in the 3-hole. It's a good hitter. But they got the big fella starting next. Two on for Rizzo.
Looks like he reached back for a little bit more right there, and I mean, he just barely missed on a perfect pitch on the inside part of the plate. And he'll get a visit from Jeff Pico on that. We'll take another look at the pitch. It was a good one. The fastball at 94. He wanted it in there and just missed inside. I don't think Coghlan could have pulled the trigger on that pitch even if he wanted to. That's what a good spot it was.
Well, you can understand Pico coming out. It was 15 pitches combined to the last 2 hitters. That's a lot of pitches. You'd like to get through an inning right around somewhere not much more above that number. All right. 2 on, 1 out. And here's Anthony Rizzo. He's flied to left and popped up to the 3rd baseman.
Well, you're thinking double play right here if you're DeStefano. You're thinking down in the zone. Maybe a breaking ball, get him to roll it over to the right side.
This is where these young pitchers are asked to grow up by the manager, Brian Price. I think Brian could cover his own tail and they'll bring in somebody from the bullpen. But what good is that going to do DeStefano 2 weeks from now or 2 years from now?
Well, I mean, he has rolled up 20 ground ball double plays so far this season. So it has really been a friend of his. You just got to have the confidence. You throw the right pitch, you get another one.
a very hard night. Perhaps he's starting to tire.
Well, he's squeezing the baseball a little bit too hard right now.
In this inning, the first batter hit a rocket right at Jay Bruce. Then he got ahead of Schwarber, went to 3-2, single. 9 pitch at bat, threw a lot of strikes to Cogler.
It's a good time for a dead fish. And if you don't know the pitching vernacular definition of a dead fish, it's a pitch, a two-seam fastball that is really somewhere between your best two-seam fastball, as hard as you throw it, and a changeup. And you throw it in between, so it looks just like a fastball, but just as it gets to the plate, it turns over a little bit, and the hitter hits it, but preferably hits it on the ground. You get a lot of ground ball double plays out of that, but it's a pitch you have to practice. Oral Hershiser would throw that all the time behind the count.
Did it again, back-to-back at 87. And it's probably somewhere right between his best fastball and his changeup. Speed-wise. But Rizzo is looking fastball the last 2 pitches, and he didn't get the good gas on either one of them.
Definitely.
2-2. What's he do now? Same thing again. Tried to buzz a fastball in on his hands. Barnhart runs out of room.
Boy, he got it in there, too.
It hit the back screen before he caught it. .100 pitches tonight for DeSclafani. And he has thrown over 25% of those, nearly that, to the last 3 hitters. Full count. It's the biggest pitch of the night coming up for DeSclafani.
You run him here if you're Joe Madden?
Straight up in the air. The runners were not going. Infield fly rule. 2 away. So DeSclafani able to finish off Rizzo after a lengthy battle. Does Brian Price give him one more batter to get out of this inning?
You know, Tom, ever since the Reds fouled up that one infield fly play against the Kansas City Royals, I've looked back on that play many times on video, and it might be worth a chance to do the same thing intentionally. The batter is still out, but sometimes the runners don't know the rule or they just zone out. And if on a ball like that, if you had players covering where they should have been, say 1 at third or 1 at second, and you intentionally drop that ball, hey, maybe a 5% odds that Schwarber decides to run to third, but you never know.
You're right, you never know.
But you have to coach your team ahead of time to prepare them for it.
1-0 the count on Chris Bryant. And now 2-0. It's not an exaggeration. DeSclafani has thrown better than 1/4 of his pitches in the game in this 6th inning. They have really made him work. This will be his 28th pitch. And he's gone to 3-0. Four straight 3-ball counts that began with Schwarber. 3-0 on Chris Bryant. Cut him loose. And and again did not give him the heat. Well, you threw a 3-0. You would certainly think you have the confidence to come back with that 3-1. That location could not have been better. Came back to the same pitch, and Bryant hooks it into left field. And it's a one-run game, and you got to believe that's it for DeStefano. Yep, here comes Brian Price.
Well, he's thrown a lot of pitches in this ball game in the few number of innings that he's been out there, and a lot of them have been under stress. He just kind of hangs this one in there. Bryant really doesn't get it all that good, but he gets 3 hits on the night with this swing. And he'll drive a run in, and it's a one-run ball game.
Well, it's unbelievable. You look at Bryant, all 3 of his hits. The first one was like that one that barely made it over the shortstop's head. The broken bat single to right to knock in a run, and now this. But an excellent outing by DeStefano. Perhaps just tax on this hot, humid night in this lengthy 6th inning. Act on your smartphone or tablet. Let's lead by a run. DeStefano out, Sam LeCure in to face Miguel Montero. Tying run at second, lead run at first.
Right now, Sam LeCure, even though he is fresh up from Louisville, you've seen him for a long time. He is the best option the Reds have for coming in and using a left-handed specialist. There are the numbers career-wise for Sam. Lefties don't hit anywhere near as well as righties do. That's why he's in here right now against Montero.
I'm not sure if he thought that was the third strike in the at bat. It looked like he was on his way back to the dugout after that swing and miss. Yeah, he's double checking on something, or whether that was a. I think Sam thought the second pitch, which was called a ball, he thought it was called a strike. One-two on Miguel Montero. Two balls and two strikes on Montero with 2 on and 2 out. Tie game. Throw into third, safe there. No decision for DeStefani. We're tied at 3. At least right now. The guy at third's his.
Pretty good bit of hitting right here by Montero. He kind of waited out Sam LeCure and got a fastball that Sam wanted inside and floated back out over the plate. And Montero, a good level swing to drive a run in.
Second time the Cubs have come back to the game. They were down 1-0. They tied the game at 1. Reds went to 2-1. Reds went to 3-1. And now 2 runs on base hits with 2 outs by Bryant and Montero. Strike 1 on Javier Baez, who struck out and fly to right. Fair ball. That's a good play by Barnhart. But Cubs get 2 on our way to the 7th. Tied at 3.
the Data Strong fan photo of the game, and it is Caitlin. So tweet your strongest fan photo to hashtag Ohio Data Strong Fan for a chance to be featured in an upcoming broadcast. Brought to you by T-Mobile, and we thank you, Caitlin, for that beautiful picture. Number 5.
Caitlin looking good. That's a Reds fan right there.
Better believe it.
All right, so here we go. We are tied at 3. Fernando Rodney came over, made his second appearance as a Cub. Closer for the last number of years over in the American League for Joe Madden with Tampa Bay, more recently with Seattle.
You know, you don't even need to see him warm up or see the number or his name on the back. The telltale sign of Fernando Rodney on the mound is the way he wears his hat. I mean, it's been in every media guide picture really ever since he first came up to the major leagues. Now I think 38 years old. He's been around a while.
Eugenio Suarez about it. And it's in there a strike. I told you we saw Rodney last night made his Cub debut over the weekend in Los Angeles. He worked a perfect inning here last night. He did not face Suarez. He tied Phillips, Frazier, and De Jesus. High fly ball left center field. That ball continues to carry further and further. Goodbye. We talked about carrying tonight. And boy, did that baby carry out of here. And just like that, the Reds are back in front.
Now, the telltale sign is you watch the outfielders, and both outfielders, Schwarber and Coughlin, actually it's Fowler out there in center field, really just started drifting to the track, thinking that's about where that ball was going to come down. And look at, even Suarez thinks, I just missed that ball. Well, thank you, summertime at Wrigley. Suarez went into second, not sure what happened to that baseball. They'll take the dinger anytime.
Home run number 11 for Eugenio Suarez. He has homered in each of the first 2 games of this series. Boy, what a big one right there. Just like last night's was a big one. His 2-run home run in the game last night tied the game in the 6th inning. And in the 7th inning, aided albeit by this steamy weather in Chicago, but it's the same for both sides. Max Suarez has hit 3 home runs in the 6 games that he has played in his career here at Wrigley Field. Badenhop beginning to get loose in the Reds bullpen. They like to use LeCure, or certainly are not afraid to use LeCure in the situation they brought him in a moment ago with runners on base. And you're getting down to the bottom part of the batting order anyway.
Well, it's the one gaping hole in the Reds bullpen, and it has been really all year long with the injuries to all the left-handed relievers that the Reds had planned on having over the last couple of years. Manny Parra on and off the DL 3 times this year. Sean Marshall with the ball club, but has not pitched really in the last 2 years. And you don't have a lefty down there, you got to hope the righties can get the job done. But there's a reason that most teams out there carry at least 2 left-handers in the bullpen, and many prefer to have at least 3. Of course, I'm not including Chapman. He's the closer.
There's Schumacher now batting for LeCure. Well, Jim Day, we bring up the name Sean Marshall, and there was a time there a couple of years ago, even earlier this year, where you thought, okay, maybe, and now, after nothing short of a miracle in regard to his shoulder and given a second life for a chance to pitch this year. We spoke with him a week ago, and he was looking forward to facing batters in the batting cage. What's the latest there?
He has not yet faced batters. In fact, he threw a bullpen today, threw about 40 pitches, and was throwing all of his pitches. But as Brian Price says, with a shoulder injury, unlike an elbow, he was fine when he was long tossing. In fact, it looked great, but for whatever reason, when you get on that hill and you're throwing on a downward plane, sometimes you regress a little bit. And he's kind of in a holding pattern right now, and they're going to reassess whether he is ready to face live hitters this next time out, but he has yet to do that.
Well, we certainly hope that he gets a chance to do it, to really reignite a career that looked like, quite frankly, it was over. That's the way he felt about it. And you certainly don't want to put any stock on him being able to do it before this season is over.
No, but I think whatever happens with Sean Marshall, and hopefully he gets to face some hitters this year. And if he does, it'll be really benefiting Sean Marshall more than it'll benefit the Reds, because he'll be a free agent at the end of the season. And he'll at least show people out there in baseball that he is healthy enough to perform in a big league game. If he's not able to pitch, it's still not over for Marshall. If he wants to continue to rehab and throw, and I would probably assume that he would do that, he'll probably get an invite somewhere to a big league camp next year and go to spring training and have all winter long to further get stronger. And with the kind of money they're throwing around nowadays, you might not want to call them quits too soon, as long as there's hope.
There's no doubt about it.
I mean, even if you think that you're going to start the season in the minor leagues and work your way through, why not?
There are a lot of folks know all about selling hope. We know that. 1 ball and 2 strikes to count on Jason Bourgeois.
I think one thing about Fernando Rodney, he has not lost a lot of fastball in his career. I mean, he's still averaging 96 miles an hour at age 38. His next best pitch, and it's really his only other pitch he throws besides the fastball, is a changeup.
Fernando gets over there to cover the bag. But the first batter Fernando Rodney faced in this inning leaves a yard. Eugenio Suarez, number 11. And the Reds back up by a run. And this Saturday, you can join the Reds in celebrating Redstoberfest. We're celebrating German Heritage Day. And don't forget, the first 20,000 fans receive a Red Stein, thanks to Hollywood Casino. 1:10. Again, remember that on Saturday. As the Reds had DeSclafani, 5 2/3, 4 hits, 3 runs earned. LeCure right now the pitcher of record for the Reds, who lead 4-3. And taking over, we saw him for a perfect inning last night, is Burke Badenhop, who's really starting to get into a territory now where you're like, this is what we expected from the guy when the season began.
Exactly. You know, we got so down on Burke early on because he had a horrible month of April. He wasn't the only one out of that bullpen that struggled in April. But little by little, he got better and better, and now he is pitching in games in which the score is tied, or the Reds are winning, or it's a very close ball game, and 2 of the 3 apply right here. Close, and the Reds are winning.
Now he'll be facing La Stella. It's a fly ball to left. Now the wind's not going to, or the humidity's not going to affect this ball. And La Stella with a fly ball to left field. That's one away in the inning. And here comes who? They send up a pinch hitter for
Austin Jackson.
Yep. They just acquired him.
Got him from the Seattle Mariners. You probably know his name if you've been following at all, the Detroit Tigers. Long-time Tiger player. I think Jackson's got to be close to 30 years old now.
Well, they thought this guy was going to be a great one. He was a good one.
Yeah.
But never a great one. But a really nice pickup for the Cubs. There was a rumor floating around the ballpark today that the Cubs were trying to trade for James Shields. Now, getting that guy through waivers, 0 chance. Because he got a big contract, but there are some outs in that contract that the player might want in that contract. So a team might not be taking on some long-term deal. Somebody would claim James Shields. And again, that was some speculation by a couple of pretty good sources. Not speculation, that was more than just that from a couple of very good sources earlier today.
Jackson is 28, not 30, and he will be a free agent at the end of the season. Originally drafted by the Yankees, then traded to Detroit, and from Detroit to Seattle. Oh,
good pitch.
That's a thumb eater.
Jackson was playing, from an offensive standpoint, the best he's played all year long in the last month. Been nearly a 400 batter, 10 runs scored over the last 18 games, spanning a little longer than 3 weeks. Fastball away.
And you know, he's also a really good defender. Sure. So, you know, if you're going to play, say, Kyle Schwarber out in left field for the first part of the ball game, then you need a little defense towards the end. Jackson's a perfect guy to put out there.
There's another great pitch. You got to get rid of it. This guy can run. Good play by Suarez. And a real good pitch by Badenhop. Went back to the inner part of the plate with that running fastball. It's actually a play that Suarez was working on before the game. About 10 or 12 balls where he came charging in and had to throw quickly to get rid of the ball over to first base. So now Fowler. Badenhop had him way out in front. Nearly 34,000 on hand at Wrigley Field tonight The Cubs a 5.5 game lead for the second wild card spot. And there's a base hit by Fowler that'll keep the inning alive for Schwarber. First hit, although he has hit the ball very hard 3 of his 4 times up tonight, Dexter Fowler. And here's that situation again that Chris referred to a moment ago, where you don't have that left-hander in the bullpen to come in and face what now is 3 consecutive batters that all hit from the left side. Until, of course, you get to your closer. Reds lead by a run. 2 outs. Runner at first. 2-1 on Schwarber.
Schwarber was convinced he's getting the fastball right here. That's what it looks like when the pitcher pulls the string. Badenhop will back that up with another one. Back-to-back-to-back combos. Did he throw 4 in a row? Foul ball.
That's fired up down there. Center field, the Cubs lead.
Seen so many pitches down in the zone, and you can just see Schwarber just staying down on it, going down to cross that baby. Kid's a pretty good looking hitter.
1-0 on Coughlin. First lead of the night for Chicago. They've come back from now 3 deficits in the game. 1-0, 3-1, 4-3. For the first time they have leapfrogged the Reds. You look at Schwarber in 48 games. And remember, not all of those are starts. He pinch hit a number of times as well. But officially 48 games. This young man has scored 40 runs and knocked in 38.
Wow. That's getting off to a pretty impressive start.
Well, it's getting it done. Just getting it done.
Well, it's also a ball club having faith in a young man that can come up and slip him right into the starting lineup.
I used to argue with Ron Santo all the time, late great third baseman. And he used to say all the time, the hardest thing in the world to do in baseball is be a great player on a bad team. Was that one a shot down the left field line? And that is a ground rule double for Coughlin. He's already been sent back to third. A fan, I guess, touched that ball somewhere once it bounced. You know, finish that thought real quick about Ron Santo, and this would get into when we would start having debates about who is a better player, Joe Morgan or Ryne Sandberg. Naturally, he thought Ryne Sandberg. They say it's hard to play on a bad team, and I'd make the argument it is far harder to be a great player on a great team because there is pressure and expectations. You play on a bad team, you're playing for yourself. And it doesn't make you a selfish player. But there's no pressure besides the pressure you put on yourself and the pressure to stay in the big leagues. And I'm talking about the elite players now. I'm not talking about some guy trying to hang off. That's pressure of just trying to stay in the big leagues. But when you're the best player on the best team, everybody's counting on you to drive in the big runs and win games for your team.
Well said.
And it doesn't mean it's right. I mean, you've been on good teams. You've been on bad teams. I would choose Tony Gwynn. Incredible player. Incredible player. And year after year, except for one time, he was playing on a lot of bad teams out there. He can go out and get his 3-4 hits in a night. Be nobody in the seats. It's hard to do. I understand that. Joe Morgan comes to the plate against Don Sutton year in and year out. Runners at second and third, 2 outs, you're down a run. Yeah, get me the knock.
I think one difference might be is that when you're playing on a good team, you've got other guys picking you up constantly. When you're playing on a bad team, you're the only guy.
True.
And you're the guy with a bullseye, and you're the guy that the opposing pitcher realizes he's in the on-deck circle. I need to make sure no one's on base when he's around. So you are a marked man on a bad team.
Sure.
But if you're among, like you bring up Joe Morgan, if you're among that lineup of the Big Red Machine, who do you mark? So I don't know. That's a tough thing to debate.
But you use Votto on this team. They just walk him.
Right. But, I mean, if you put him on a really good team, those walks are really important now. You have somebody hitting behind them, third and fourth, who are getting the job done night in and night out. You're talking about major run producer. You don't always produce it by driving it in.
No,
you
that's
could produce it by touching the plate. I'll tell you one thing about playing the Cubs. You better have some left-handers in your bullpen because they can load up on left-handed hitters up and down this lineup. I mean, you've got Fowler, a switch hitter as a leadoff, Schwarber, Coughlin, Rizzo, all left-handed. Bryant, who has 3 hits on the night, and then Montero left-handed.
3-1. Tell you another thing they do, and this is a big part of the way Theo Epstein, of course, wants to put together a team. You know, people who are around here with the Cubs now, Theo's been around for a while, will tell you that, yeah, he obviously is a sabermetrics guy and all that kind of thing, but he also understands what you brought up earlier, Chris, about the players have heartbeats, and they will trust their scouts on some areas that. But one thing they do like are batters who are not afraid to hit deep in counts. And the Cubs have done that all year long, and they are really wearing down the Reds pitchers here as this game has gone on. They wore down DeSclafani, and they've done the same to Badenhop, sort of waiting him out here in this inning. So now we're going to have a pitching change. Badenhop came in with a 1-run lead. He will leave 1 run down. Joey Votto in the very first inning. A blast to the seats in left center field for an early 1-0 lead. The first of 3 leads the Reds would eventually have. Votto came up there and dumped one into left field to snap a 1-1 tie. Actually gave the Reds a 3-1 lead. But then Bryant a single, Montero a single in a 2-run 6th inning. Suarez breaks a tie in the top of this 7th inning, but in the bottom of the inning, the Cincinnati kid, Kyle Schwarber from Middletown High School, 2 outs, a man aboard, goodbye. And the Cubs lead by a run. Since a home run, it's been double walk. And now Schwarber watches as Chris Bryant, 3 for 3 with 2 runs batted in, will face a new Reds pitcher, Jumbo Diaz. The warning track to end the inning. Reds are down a run. They come to bat in the 8th after the long one by Schwarber. Let's start with some of the changes. This is just such a versatile Cubs team. Austin Jackson is now in right field. Chris DeNorfia comes in the game to play left field. They've already moved their second baseman to shortstop. And now on to pitch is Pedro Strop. Jay Bruce to lead things off. Jay struck out swinging, struck out looking against a right-hander. Clayton Richard came in, a left-hander, and he doubled down the right field line. And this one pulled to the right side of the infield for La Stella, one away. Here comes Joey. 6 of the Cubs' 8 hits tonight, and all 5 of their runs have come with 2 outs in the inning. And we were talking about patience. They had Schwarber, Coghlan, and Rizzo. All 3 of those batters come to the plate in consecutive innings, the last 2 innings, the 6th and the 7th innings. Schwarber in his 2 plate appearances saw 13 pitches. Coghlan saw 14, and Rizzo saw 13. 40 pitches. Spanning 6 plate appearances. See the numbers for Joey against Pedro Strop. One and two. Look out. Votto shoots one hard into left field, but right at the sliding DeNorfia. That ball hit right on the screws again by Votto, but allowed out.
Well, it's all defense all the time now for the Cubs. They have a pretty good defensive outfield going right now.
Peyton Hop, 2/3 of an inning. Allows 3 hits, a walk, and 2 runs. And right now, Jumbo Diaz still in the game. Fernando Rodney allowed a home run to Suarez, which gave the Reds a lead in the top of the 7th. And right now, he would be the pitcher of record for the Cubs. As Brandon takes low and in. know, we were talking about being a great player on a great team or a great player on a bad team, and which would be harder. You know, perhaps this time of the year, a better illustration of that would be if the best player on a non-contending team does nothing in the month of September, no one ever remembers it. If the best player on a great team and you're trying to hold off another team and get into the playoffs, and you hit 110 in September and knock in 5 runs for the month, they'll remember.
Good point.
Three-two pitch. Inning over. Schroep retires aside in order. I don't know what's going on there. Brandon looks like he's all right. Mr. Strop.
Strop is a pretty excitable guy. I mean, he shows a lot of emotion out on the mound, and when he strikes out Brandon Phillips on the pitch that ends the inning, a little hard sinker about 95, 96, he celebrates coming off the mound. You see him in the right part of the screen, and Brandon's not. Yep, that was a good one. Well, we're going to celebrate this one with a Cholula hot sauce. Maybe with Pedro Strop, it should be Cholula mustard. That one at 96 miles an hour. We thank Cholula for being with us all year long.
I'll tell you what, boy, we're all definitely getting a little older. As I just mentioned to you in between innings, if a pitcher ever did that to Ron Santo, Ron Santo would drop him before he got back to the dugout.
I think that's just there would be a whole bunch of players back in Ron Santo's day who would do the same thing.
No doubt about it. This ball is hammered by Miguel Montero. And that's up against the ivy. And that's a leadoff double.
Well, it's only a one-run game. The Cubs are trying to play a little add-on right there, and Diaz, Montero thinks he may have this enough to get it out of here. And the wind is still blowing. It's like a nice little breeze blowing out there. He didn't get enough under it.
swinging a foul ball out of play. The count. To the count on Baez. Runner at second, nobody out. We're in the bottom of the 8th inning, and the Cubs lead by a run. That's off the end of the bat. They're winging and eyeing on every fly ball here tonight, but it's plenty deep enough to get the runner from second down to third. So a productive out by the youngster Baez, 0 for 4 tonight in his first game back since being brought up from Ireland.
They like him here. I mean, they have been really enthusiastically cheering him every time he comes to the plate, every time he gets near a ball.
Well, the Cub fans, you know, they have great fans. They have knowledgeable fans. And they know that this young man's been highly touted. And when he came up last year, it was ugly. And they knew it was ugly. And they told the kid in spring training, you're going back to the minor leagues. And so they asked him to get better. He worked his tail off. He's gotten a lot better. Now we'll see if he can do it up here. But he's had to earn his way back to the major leagues. He wasn't just given a job in spring training and said, here you go. And the Cubs could have easily done that. The fan base here would have been thrilled about it. 1-0 the count on La Stella. And now Jumbo falls behind at 2-0. Joey and Brandon having an ongoing conversation over there on the right side of the Reds infield. Brandon's still over there talking. Two and two. They had nearly huddled up over there after that last pitch. These two have been together so long. Two balls and a strike. Brandon will let the runner back and get the out. Again, I'd like to remind you one more time, we have a great ticket offer for you right here on Fox Sports Ohio. But it's during this game only. For $10, you get a view-level ticket for the Reds and Brewers, any of the 3 games at Great American Ballpark this weekend. You got to go to Reds.com/FSOhio and then use the code FSOhio. And you can get your $10 view-level tickets to any game Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday afternoons. That's this weekend against the Milwaukee Brewers. So the infield naturally backs up with 2 away, and here's Austin Jackson. You're looking ahead to the Reds' 9th inning. It'll be Frazier, DeJesus, and Suarez. as Rondon is warming up. Well, he has been lights out in his save chances, has Rondon, going back to the end of May, beginning of July, or beginning of June, I beg your pardon. He's only blown one save and has an ERA at 0.4. 1-2 on Austin Jackson. Runner at third with 2 away. From a breaking ball, it stayed on the inner part of the plate. It's fouled back and out of play. Jumbo ahead of Austin Jackson. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Not going to make it easy. Garrett Cole again roughed up tonight. Boy, he is going through a terrible stretch for the Pittsburgh Pirates. That would be his 5th loss. 6th loss since the All-Star game. Unless his team can rally, they trail 5-2 with Milwaukee batting in the bottom of the 8th inning. The Nationals have a 5-3 lead over the Cardinals. That game in the bottom of the 7th inning at Busch Stadium. And they're underway out west in Los Angeles. No score. Dodgers and the Giants in the 3rd. 2-2 pitch. Blew him away with a fastball to end the inning. So here we go in the 9th. Can the Reds rally? They're only down a run. Fox Sports Ohio. Reds Live presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing, our only day game of this series. And look who's on the main man. On the hill, Raisel Iglesias. He has just been spectacular here in the month of August. And now, of course, this will be a start in September.
It'll be interesting to see how long they go in the month of September with Iglesias. I mean, I don't think that you can find a pitcher anywhere pitching better than Iglesias is right now. The numbers, of course, reflect all year long he doesn't have as many wins as you would expect given the fact that he's pitched very well. But he gets the ball in the final tomorrow.
And we'll see if the Reds can rally against their closer, Hector Rondon. Reds are only down 1 run. Todd Frazier to lead things off. And it's 2 balls and no strikes. Reds retired in order. Bruce, Votto, Phillips by stroke, including the strikeout of Brandon, which ends the inning. 3-0 on Frazier. Now, there's sort of been this feeling the entire year, and it's been an outstanding year for the Cubs, but there's just been this sort of quiet undercurrent about the end of their bullpen. Frazier taking a hack 3-0. We told you what Rondon has done and saved chances. Going back to the end of May, beginning of June, he's been just about as good as you can be. But there is just between Rondon and Strope. And look, some of that must bleed into the manager's office, or they would not have traded for Fernando Rodney.
You're right.
Or picked up Rafael Soriano.
Well, they have some guys that are on the disabled list. Jason Motta's a guy they expect to get back. For Soriano, he's a guy that, when healthy, very dependable.
3-2. Hard hit ball, but right at the shortstop. You know, we were talking about Joe Maddon's managerial style. I just find this guy fascinating to watch as a manager. Addison Russell was the number 1 or 2 ranked player in all of minor league baseball when the Cubs made that deal to go get him from the Oakland Athletics. They basically named him their everyday second baseman as soon as they could get him here. No sooner does a shortstop, and bear in mind they moved Russell from short to second to start with. Here they are halfway through a season where they're trying to march into the playoffs, and Maddon decides Russell's going to short. I don't care if he's a rookie or not. He can handle it. I'm putting him there. And here in Javier Baez's first game in the major leagues this year, he swaps out Russell and moves Baez from second base to shortstop in the middle of a 1-run game. Gone swinging is De Jesus. And you brought up last night, Chris, about a manager has to feel like he has the juice. There are managers that have had the juice that wouldn't do some of the things this guy does.
I think what Joe Maddon feels this does, it creates the feeling of team. Because you're not the only guy that can play shortstop. We got a whole team out here. And we're going to have interchangeable pieces, and we're all going to pull in the same direction. And I think that is what he is most known for. Not necessarily his managing strategy during a ball game, but how he manages the people on the club.
Well put. Now here's Suarez. We know he can tie his baby up, but he's quickly behind 0-2. Reds had 3 leads in this game. 1-0, 3-1, 4-3. Now they lose by a run.